Hello, I'm Jeff Hajek. I'm the owner and founder of Laction Continuous Improvement, and I'm here with another quick tip on how to conduct a Kaizen event. So, as you get ready to do your Kaizen event, one of the important documents you're going to use to get started is the Kaizen Charter. And at the very top of it, not at the very top, but a couple lines down, one of the more important pieces you'll do early on is create a problem statement. Now, if you've listened to some of the other talks I've given, you'll know that I consider a problem to be a gap between the reality and your should-be condition. So basically what I'm saying is you want something to be different from what it currently is. So when you start doing a Kaizen, the best way to get other people involved and invested in what you're doing is to convince them that there's a problem. And that's where the problem statement comes in. There's a couple things you want to make sure you include on it. I like to include a due date, and it doesn't always have to be in there, but it shows the urgency. It shows how pressing the matter is and whether it's something that can wait or not. So a due date provides a frame of reference for how big the problem is in your mind. Another very important thing to keep on your problem statement is actual numbers. So instead of just having a vague, we need to increase productivity, you want to put something specific in there. So what productivity improvement, what percent improvement you need, or what number in units per hour, say, that you have to get to hit your targets. So you want to actually put numbers in there. And the reason you want to put numbers in there is it creates a perception that you know what you're talking about. So being very vague, let's get more productive, versus we have this very specific target we need to hit. It makes the credibility gets a lot higher once you convince other people that you actually have done the math and you've done your homework and you know why this is important to you. I also like to see an impact statement. And by impact statement, I'm talking about what happens if you do not accomplish this. So that's something that says, if you fail, this will happen. It could be if you don't clear up a certain amount of floor space, you can't bring the new product line out on time, or something of that nature. There's a ramification for not doing things, not making this problem go away. And of course, you want to indicate where the problem is. So you want to put some containment into the problem statement so you know it's not the whole company productivity you're looking at, it's the productivity of the Widgetron 2000 cell. So you want to get a very specific way of looking at where this problem is. Now when you're doing your problem statement on a Kaizen charter, there's a few things you want to make sure you do not include in there. So the first thing is, don't ever put solutions in there. You don't want to go into your problem statement saying, we're going to increase productivity by adding this machine or anything like that. If you actually know the answer to it, you don't really need to do the charter. You don't need to get the team to do invest the time in trying to solve the problem. So don't put solutions in there. Similarly, you do not want to put causes in there. You don't want to attribute causes to the problem before you've actually done the research. Now, I know if you're creating a Kaizen team and you're putting all the resources into this as a leader, you probably have done some research before you started going down this path. So you may have an idea of the causes. The reason why I don't want to see it on a problem statement is I don't want to bias the team. So the short answer is you may be wrong. You may have started a team and assume that this is the cause, and the team, don't want to influence them unduly. You want them to come to that same conclusion on their own, or you don't want to get them to go down the wrong path because you sent them there with the signpost. So don't attribute causes to the problem. We also don't want to put opinions in there, and obviously make sure everything in your problem statement is a statement of fact. It gets a little touchy when you start thinking like you're relating it to goals, and goals sometimes have a little bit of opinion about how big a goal needs to be in it. I'm talking more about the general opinions where you're putting an attribution, your opinions about a cause, and sort of stuff overlaps. But make sure that everything in there is factual and has some kind of, like I said, factual background. Don't get overly broad. Make sure that when you're talking about anything in a problem statement, it doesn't have a sweeping generalization of discipline in the area is too low or something like that. You don't want to overgeneralize, and that kind of overlaps again with opinion. And finally, something you may have caught in there, you don't want to attribute blame. So when you start talking about a specific problem, often there is a specific person associated with those problems, And sometimes it's by default. If you blame a department that only has one person in there, you're really blaming the person, not the department. So be really careful about assigning blame. But that's not to say if the facts say something, you shouldn't put that in there. Put facts in there. Just try not to put a opinion-based blame on a specific person. So when you get all this stuff done, what you have is a nice problem statement that can rally people around it. So like if I was going to do a Kaizen, let's say I'm late for work, and I use this late for work example a lot, mostly because people can relate to it and because it doesn't step on any toes as I start talking about issues. And sometimes people do get a little reactive if I hit too close to home with one of these problems that I talk about. And I might have a problem statement that goes something along the lines of, I have been late to work 12 times in the last 6 months, and my boss has given me an ultimatum that if I don't get my act in order by the end of the year, I will be fired. And you can tweak the words in that one, but basically what it has there is the facts of how many times I've been absent, what the impact is getting fired, what the deadline is, the end of the year. So there's and where it is, me. I mean, it's my department, me specifically. So when you have all that kind of stuff in there, it can rally people around it. Now, and of course, in my case with being late, it's not like I'm going to get other people on board, but it could be an on-time delivery. And if the marketing team has something they can contribute, and you show them that there's a lot of late deliveries that make it hard to sell the product, then the marketing team is going to see this in the problem statement and recognize how it impacts them a lot more. So the idea on a problem statement is that it provides parameters to the project, but also it's a good marketing tool for inside the organization. It lets you sell that project to other people, because if you remember from other information I put out about Kaizen events, you're not just using a team from your own work area. You have to go out and recruit people and bring them in, and some of these people are in high demand, and they're going to have to choose between several different projects, how often or when they can actually be released from their normal job to work on a project. So they're going to want to go into ones with the biggest impact. So you want to make a good sale when you're putting together your problem statement. Okay, so problem statements are pretty important. Make sure you do them with the things I talked about, including the due dates if it's applicable, specific numbers in there, impact, and containment, like the scope where it is. And make sure you don't put in opinions. Make sure you don't put in solutions or causes. Don't assign blame in there, and try to avoid any kind of overly broad statements. Okay, that about wraps this one up. I'm Jeff Hajic. I'm the owner and founder of Action Continuous Improvement. I always appreciate it if you like and subscribe and visit my site, put links to it. Anything you can help spread the word about the information I offer really helps my site grow and helps me provide more content to you. So thank you in advance for anything you can do to help. I appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Again, I'm Jeff Hajic, signing out.